Hey, what's up guys? This is Colby Cheese, and I'm finally bringing you another one of my League of Legends champion guides. This time I'm going to be going into full detail on how to play some Orianna at a very high level, and I'm going to show you some of the mistakes to avoid just from my own experience, so that way you can actually play Orianna at a much higher level without having to make all those same mistakes yourself. So let's just go right into it. Orianna's amazing burst damage and zone of influence are very often miscalculated by enemy champions, which can very soon be taken advantage of if you play Orianna correctly. As you see there, I just destroy Brand, and then I use Orianna's amazing utility to easily get away from this Amumu without a problem. Her shield plus the increased speed you can give yourself while also slowing the enemies is just a huge combination of utility that not any other champion in the game really offers. Orianna is an AP carry. She belongs in the middle lane, and unlike what we originally thought she was going to be, she is not a support, although she has amazing utility and she can do a lot of supporting while also being an AP carry. That's the great thing about her. When you start the game off in the lane, you'll want to pick up a mana crystal and 2 health potions. This is one of the champions that you don't have to do the boots and 3 pots to survive. You want to be able to quickly pick up that catalyst and go for that sustain. Your ideal goal as Orianna is to farm up as much as possible, and once you get to level 8 and 9, you're going to be doing amazing amounts of damage with your W, which is your little AoE. Her Q is going to be her bread and butter ability. It allows you to control your ball. You'll pick that up right off the bat. You use it to scout out different areas and allow you to not have to face check bushes to put down wards and the like. You'll also use your Q to help you zone your enemies in the lane. You put it in a location near the creeps, and if the enemy comes up to last hit, you just toss your ball over in their direction and then throw off your dissonance, which does the AoE damage and slow them and allow you to maybe get in 1 or 2 auto attacks. While Q is your bread and butter due to being able to position your ball, you're actually going to be leveling up Dissonance first, which is your W. It's going to do the most damage in an AoE area while also giving a move speed buff or debuff depending on how you use it. I like to take my shield at level 5. This allows me to save myself if I put myself in any bad situations, or I'm going to take a little bit of harass from creeps, or just anything that I need to. I level up Q second, E last, and always take your ult anytime it's up. Try not to use your E, which is your shield, to do any kind of creep farm. It's going to use quite a bit of your mana. You mainly want to use your mana on using your Q ability and occasional Ws, because you will run out of mana quite quickly. Save using your mana on W until you get past level 8 or 9. Once you get your catalyst, it's going to be a lot easier to do that. And then especially if you can get a blue buff also. Once you hit level 9 and your W is maxed, you'll be able to use your Q and then W to insta-gib the last wave of creeps. For the front wave, what you want to do is just auto-attack them 1 or 2 times and then shoot your ball at them and then W, and that'll finish those off. And that's the best way to farm that down quickly. Depending on how the lane phase goes, if you're against an opponent that you can easily push the lane against, then definitely do that any chance you get. And if you can, run down to the bottom or up to the top if you see a gank attempt happening or something of opportunity that you can help out on. Any chance you get to be able to easily push the lane and then pick up a kill or help your teammates get a kill is always the best thing to do, especially as an AP carry. Anytime you can get that extra gold is always going to help you out, especially late game once you build up your death cap and all the other items that you can. Orianna's final ability is her ultimate, which is Command Shockwave. Such an amazing ability, and once you pick it up, you're going to have so much more control in the lane, and you can cause ganks to happen really easily, and you can push people out of the lane, put them back into your zone of influence for even more damage and auto attacks. And as you see here, I was able to push the Vlad out of the lane, making it easy for me to finish up farming this. He's going to lose this entire wave of creeps since he can't come back to the lane, and I'm going to be able to get back and buy some items. The way you actually use your ultimate is one of the key factors that's going to determine whether or not you are playing Orianna really well or not, in addition to the positioning that you use. So let's just go into that. In order to help you avoid some of the common mistakes on Orianna, I just want to show you some of my earlier games on her where I made a lot of mistakes with the commanding of her ball so that you can kind of avoid that same thing. Orianna gets really strong as the game goes on. However, there's some champions that will beat her in the lane early on in the game, and you can't go toe-to-toe with them. You're going to have to play the zone game. So for example, and this is another one of my early game clips here from when I first started playing Orianna, and I tried to go head-to-head with Annie. obviously it did not work out. So be sure that you play really safe against those type of champions until you get around level 6 to 9 area where you can completely demolish them like that. Okay guys, so for this next one, I'm actually a little embarrassed to show you, but I have to because you guys are probably going to have the same mistake if you just start playing Orianna. Basically, I will throw out my Q and it goes past a Moo, and I try and use my ultimate anyways to hit him. Obviously, it doesn't work, and our team ends up getting put in a really bad situation. So, just to recap on what should have gone down there, like how to actually use your ball more effectively, what you need to do is, let's say even if you do miss your Q there, don't panic and just use your ultimate anyways. The best thing to do is, well, you can move it around in other ways. So I would most likely want to use my E to bring it right back to me, which would do damage through a Moo, and then I can use my ultimate to pull him back and then hit W, and I would have put him in that full combo, doing a lot more damage, and that probably would have turned out a lot better for us. Here's an example of how not to use your ultimate. I've actually thrown the ultimate in there, and it was kind of a good positioning on doing some damage to them. However, look at who I used the ultimate on. There was an Amumu and also a Yorick, the two tankiest people on their team. And what happened was I pulled Amumu in to our team, and he was able to do his ultimate. Plus, I wasn't able to take out any of their squishies, and it ends up going really sour for our team once again. 3 of us are dead. I am able to live because, you know, I'm Orianna. I can just stay in the back. But either case, that could have turned into an ace for us if I had actually just saved my ultimate in this one spot where the actual Xin Zhao runs into the back onto their 2 squishies. If I had used my E, my little shield, onto Xin Zhao and then ulted them and then W'd, that would have done a ton of damage, and Amumu might have gotten his ultimate off on like a couple of us, but we would have been able to destroy their damage dealers and then mop up the rest of their team with no problem. So here's an example of a time when I used the ultimate properly. Watch what happens. The Amumu gets a nice initiate off, and then Fiddlesticks tries to follow up. I throw my ball into the bush, and right when they're all grouped up and Fiddlesticks is on the front side of my ball, I pull him backwards, keeping him away from my team. I put down shields when possible, throw in my W, speeding up my team and slowing them down. We're able to clean them all up. The only person who gets away is Rumble, but just barely. Even Xin Zhao is able to finish off Sona, and this is the final fight that ends the game. If I had used my ultimate any differently, if I had just used it as soon as I threw it in that bush, I would have actually thrown Fiddle into my team, which probably would have aced us, and we might have actually lost the game. So let's talk runes and masteries. For Orianna, I'll just pick up my standard AP caster page. I do 8.5 magic pen, which is the red runes. I'll take cooldown reduction at level 18. The reason I do that is because you don't spam your abilities too much at level 1, and you get to level 18 pretty quickly with all your farming, so you want that cooldown late game. The mana regen is just to help you out as much as you can early on until you get, your catalyst and a lot of mana built up, and then the ability power, that always helps. She has pretty good AP scaling overall. This is just a standard caster page that I use on most casters. For masteries, I don't do anything out of the ordinary, just your typical 9, 0, 21, getting that reduced cooldowns, the flash, etc, etc. Okay, finally, we can discuss the build that I like to do on Orianna. It's going to change up based on the scenario, which I'll kind of go into those in a second. But overall, your core build is going to be getting a Rod of Ages, Sorcerer Boots, into a Death Cap. That's going to be what you'll pretty much have for most games. Anything after that is kind of situational. You can do whatever you like. But let's just talk about the different levels of the game and when you will get each of these items. The reason I like to do Rod of Ages is because I can easily farm up the Catalyst quickly and then go into the Rod of Ages later, which gives you lots of mana. You don't have really any mana problems. The extra health always helps, even though you're generally safe and in the back. And of course, the extra damage is always good as well, so it's just overall a great item. Otherwise, if you feel like you want to be more aggressive in the lane and you want to try and harass your enemies down at earlier levels, the better build to do is probably Boots 3 health potions into 2 Dorans, and then skip the Rod of Ages altogether and go straight for the Death Cap. The route you decide to take is completely up to you, and it's definitely situational. Try to decide what's better for you. I would say try out both builds and figure out which one works better for you depending on which person you're going to be laning against. After my rod, I'll take my Sorcerer Boots, unless I just have so much money that I can already buy maybe a couple of wards, and on top of that, a needlessly large rod. But usually, it's going Sorcerer Boots, and then needlessly large rod, plus wards anytime you get a chance. Wards are extremely useful. As a mid lane, you're generally the one who's expected to ward up the enemy Wraith area, so make sure you do that. After you build up your Death Cap, you're going to be going into really just situational items at this point. So take a look at your enemies and see what they have. Push the tab key and try to make note, do they have lots of heavy resist items, or are they more squishy and bursty? If they're more squishy and bursty, you probably would like to take up Abyssal Scepter as your next item. Otherwise, if they're tankier and have a lot more magic resist, then you'll actually take up a Void Staff. If for some reason your game actually goes that long and you need another item after that, you can go for anything you like at this point, Banshee's Veil, or you can get Tenacity if you like. Otherwise, just pick up Azonia's Hourglass, get that big extra AP and a little bit of survivability in case someone shoots something really nasty at you. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed my Orianna guide video. I hope this helps a lot of you to get a lot better with her. It is going to take you a little bit of practice to kind of master some of her last hitting at early levels, but once you get that down and you build her into late game, you'll be a freaking truck. You're going to be able to wreck kids. Just make sure, as a final bit of tips to help you guys out, a couple of things to make sure and always do is to always, every time the cooldown is up, use your shield on whichever one of your teammates is taking damage. If you have somebody who runs in really fast, like an Amumu, or someone who's just going to be in the middle of the fight, throw down your E on them, and then, especially if it's someone like Amumu or Fiddlesticks, have that E on them. Once they get in the middle of about 3 people, pop your ultimate, boom, hit everyone in there, and then W combo your dissonance. That's big damage, and just continue on doing that combo over and over and over and over and over and over again. The other thing to note is your positioning on Orianna. You never want to start the fight in a position where somebody can catch you off guard and out of place. Make sure that, again, you use your E to get your ball into position to actually use your abilities while you're way back behind your teammates. Once all those cooldowns have been popped, you can go up a little bit closer and start using your Q wherever you'd like, auto attacking a few times if that's safe, and just continue using those abilities when possible. Cooldown reduction is nice on her, but the reason you don't actually take cooldown reduction items is because it's all about her AP ratios, doing big damage and making effective use of the abilities when they're up, not just spamming them all the time and face rolling. Anyhow, guys, thanks for watching the guide. This is Colby Cheese. If you enjoyed this guide, please help me out and let me know by pushing that like button, add this to your favorites bar, and share it with your friends. I'll see you guys around for the next guide. If you want to see some commentary of Orianna in one of my solo queue games, you can check the description down below, as I got a link to one of those there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys around for the next one. Peace out.